Hello and welcome to another episode of Movies That Make Us. I'm Jake.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Val.
We are back. Sorry I cut you guys off as we were getting ready to record. I didn't want to hear any of your guff though. That was it.
I kind of wish we need to figure out a way to get the Patreons, like the backstage drama that sometimes happens. And by drama, it's like us laughing.
Yeah, like I don't want to oversell the drama piece because guys, this isn't like Keeping Up with Kardashians here.
We are not like some movies that, like, when the movies make a really good trailer to hide the fact that they have a really bad movie. We're not like that. What you see is what you get.
We are exactly the quality you expect when you see our trailer or any of our episodes.
Now, sometimes better quality than others, but it really just depends on, if we talk about the movie or not during the episode where we're supposed to talk about a movie.
And I'm interested. I'm going to tune into multiplaying this week because not only do I get to hear Val talk about Guardians 2, I'm curious if you guys are going to talk about the fact that the Phantasmic Dragon caught on fire.
You'll have to tune in.
I'm excited to see because I'm
that's last week's episode. So if you want to jump into Multiplane Podcast, which is a sister podcast, it's all things Disney. We have a Jake over there as well. He's new, but it's not this Jake. It's a different Jake. It's me, Ty, and Jake. And they're actually, it's going to be really neat because they're going to be at Disneyland for May the 4th because they're going to Star Wars Nights. So they're doing a special live episode from there. So if you're into that, between Ty and Jake, I think they know everything about Disneyland. Like I'm just a fan that talks about my feelings, but they actually know things. And so we will see. They're going to try and be at Disneyland when we run in January. So they can support us out there. They're not going to run, but they're going to try and be there. And then next week, hopefully we're all going to get together and do a Guardians 3 episode. We'll see if
that'd be fun.
If that can work out.
Yeah, that'd be way fun. And Jake, our sister podcast,
Age of Geek.
Cutscenes and Cupcakes.
Cutscenes and Cupcakes. I'm sorry, ladies. I just had a brain fart. That is not a reflection on your podcast.
They don't listen to our show, so they're not. They don't feel bad.
But
whoa, we are all sorts of calling out here.
No, I was going to say I finally picked up a PlayStation, and so now I can get more into the cutscenes because it's been a while since I've been a gamer. So I've been checking out God of War the last couple days.
Is that what the kids are playing now? The PlayStation 10 or whatever?
I got a 5.
Yeah, that's the newest one.
Can you still play games on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the new one.
What did you think they were using it for?
What's the 10 that came out? I thought it was PlayStation is it 5? It's not a 10?
It's a 5.
It's the white one that looks all sleek.
Yeah, that's
No, for some reason I thought it was a 10. That's how much I pay attention to anything because we have one, and I play Roku on it.
I'm excited to pick up the Spider-Man games. I've heard the Spider-Man games are fantastic.
I play with
so the Spider-Man
Roku.
games are really good. I like the Miles Morales game. That was one of the ones that I actually finished, and it's one of the first games I finished in a long time because I tend to start them, and then it gets to a point where, I can't get through it without playing it for hours and hours because I can't figure out the puzzle or whatever. And I'm like, I have too much stress in my life without this. I don't need the game to be stressful, and so. But to be honest, a lot of the newer games, they've started coming out with the story mode where it's a lot less fighting, a lot less puzzles. You kind of just play through the story.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the mode for me. I'm not ashamed to admit it because that's just what I need to do to enjoy it. So
I play Tetris on my phone.
There you go.
That's about as gamey as I get.
Did you guys see the Tetris movie?
I haven't watched it yet. I want to.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
It was interesting.
Yeah.
It wasn't amazing. It was interesting.
There was a reviewer that I read their review of Tetris, and they mentioned it is not actually based on the game. And I thought, were there people out there who thought that it was based on the game? Because
yeah, it's a lot
there's
of
zero story in Tetris, like the game.
It's a lot of back and forth of like timelines of who's fighting who about things, because they have to go to Russia a lot because the guy who created Tesla,
Yeah.
Tetris, we were talking about that last week, is in Russia, but a lot of things are happening there, and things controlled by all these other things. And so it's a lot of this back and forth. And so, yeah, it's very not about Tetris at all, and all about the people who
getting the rights to it,
who created it, the people who managed to get the rights to it. And at one time, there's a whole bunch of people that claim to have the rights to Tetris. And it's kind of how we were talking last week about how you have like Tesla and you have, Edison and all these and who's going to get to it first. And you have Nintendo and you have PlayStation and you have all of these things. And then you have this small guy that's running this thing out of his house that's trying to get the rights, and so it was interesting. But yeah, it's very much about the game of getting the game than it is the game.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because, again, zero story.
Not a lot of plot. Yeah.
But I will say this, as far as Tetris goes, I still have my original Game Boy and Tetris cartridge.
Nice.
That I got when I was a kid.
Very nice.
And every once in a while, I'll put some batteries in it and play it. And Ben thinks it's the coolest thing ever until he turns it on and starts playing it. And then he's like,
I'm going to go play with my Switch.
Yeah. Grab the Switch. That's all
about
in color.
My speed, Jake. I have my Game Boy Color with the Rumble Pack, and I have Pinball. It's Pokemon Pinball.
Nice.
And that's the only Pokemon I've ever played in my life.
Wow.
But the Rumble Pack, when you play the pinball and it goes,
it rumbles your whole thing.
That was mind-blowing. Yeah.
Love it. I love it.
I will say one of the nice things that I've just rediscovered on my PlayStation 5 that I've enjoyed quite a bit is getting physical media again, because it will play the Ultra HD 4K discs. And I'm not trying to hype it up, but it is better than watching the 4K digital stuff. Like it is a noticeable difference. Like for last week's episode, I watched The Prestige and I bought it because I didn't have it on Apple. And so I bought the Ultra HD 4K disc, and it was really nice.
That's cool.
I thought it was really, really great. So I might buy more of those, which was not exciting for my wife to hear. So we went through that.
I am really excited that I don't have to buy Pride and Prejudice on disc anymore, because I have gone through 3 discs of Pride and Prejudice until they got it on streaming. And so I've purchased it twice on streaming, because the first time I purchased it, we had Xfinity, right? And if you buy it, it goes with you. But then like I got a divorce and then I had to get my own Xfinity, and I'm like, but I bought all of this stuff. How do I get those movies? And so I totally lost that. And so then when I got Prime, I bought it again, and now that just goes with me everywhere. And now all of the movies, what I love about it is all of the movies that you do get disc and you get the little download code.
Yeah.
All of those movies go together, which I really love. But so this is something that now all of you are going to know about me, because I don't think anybody except for Dave knows this about me. I think I told you two a little while ago, but Pride and Prejudice is like my blankie of a movie. So if you're a little kid and you have like a whoopee or a blankie or a whatever that makes you feel better and helps you sleep at night if you can't sleep, or if you're going through something, that's what this movie is for me. And I don't know why. Like, it's not the best movie in the world. It's the Joe Wright version of Pride and Prejudice. And the screenplay is by Joe Wright, Emma Thompson, and Deborah Mongich. I don't know how to say her last name, but Emma Thompson's in there, sandwiched in there, and I love that. And it's the one with Keira Knightley. And if you are like a deep-seated lover of Pride and Prejudice and you've read the books, you probably hate this movie, because this movie cuts out kind of all of the fluff and stammering of the book. And I'm not saying I don't dislike the book, but there's a lot of things in the book that do not transfer to a movie setting in a way that keeps the pacing. We talk about pacing a lot on this show, right?
Yep.
The other Pride and Prejudice that you could watch is like a 6-hour miniseries on Pride and Prejudice. And that you're going to get almost everything, because the book is huge. So you cannot put that big of a story in it.
I don't remember it being that big.
I think because of all the details of what everybody wants, you can string it along.
Yeah.
It's a very intricate, detailed story. It's not like, you know, like really thick, but it's this big story that people just, I mean, it's Jane Austen, so people just really kind of connect to it. But I literally will probably watch bits and pieces of this movie 5 days a week. If Dave knows I'm having a hard night or it's been a long week and he knows I'm going to bed before him, he will literally, I'll go downstairs, he'll give me a kiss, I'll get into bed, he will turn on Pride and Prejudice for me and go upstairs and play video games. Like I didn't know like that I was training him. It was never my intention. But that's how thoughtful he is. I've never made him watch it. If he comes in the room, like he can turn it off.
Okay.
And turn on whatever, because we know I'm probably going to go to sleep, but I've never made him watch it because I know it's not it's not his thing. Just like Tracy, I know it's not your thing, but for me, it's probably one of the most.
This is interesting.
What's going
happening?
I have no idea.
Did I hit a button? I hit a button. I hit a button.
That?
What was the sound?
It's Super Mario Brothers.
It's like this little 8-bit.
I'm like so in this really like feeling part of my story.
I am so sorry, Val. I'm
kidding.
so
it wasn't
sorry.
Really that important. That wasn't really that important.
So I went. Okay, so let me explain what happened, step by step, everything that happened. I went to go find out how big the Pride and Prejudice book was, because this was obviously something we needed to decide right now. Not really, but it's this section right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not huge. It's huge, but it's. And then as I was trying to find that, I hit my soundboard buttons. Now I cannot hear the sounds in the soundboard buttons. It does not come through to my earphones.
Okay.
But you obviously can. Yeah. And I'm sorry about that.
That was awesome.
That was fun.
I mean, the old
you didn't know you needed Mario Brothers and Pride and Prejudice together, and it works. But what I'm saying, it's one of the most beautiful movies that I've ever seen. Yeah. The cinematographer for Pride and Prejudice is one of my favorite cinematographers. And so for me, it's just a very calming movie. Yes, the story is the story, and I don't mind it. But the reason why I love it so much is the scenery and the coloring and the calming of the music. And I remember last week, guys, like we were talking about all of these actors that like showed up in The Prestige. But if you're watching this version of Pride and Prejudice, you are seeing Carey Mulligan, you are seeing Rosamund Pike, you are seeing Simon Woods, you are seeing Jenna Malone, you are seeing Rupert Friend. There is a lot of people other than Keira Knightley and Matthew. I don't know how to say his last name, never have.
Matthew
Darcy. Mr. Darcy.
Okay. Now,
in this movie.
I have been watching Succession on HBO.
Yes.
He popped up on screen. I'm like, Tom!
Tom! Yes.
The movie needed more Greg. The movie needed more Cousin Greg. That's what this movie is missing.
Yeah. Well, it does have Tom Hollander as Mr. Collins, which I love. Tom Hollander.
He's not Tom Holland.
No, Tom Hollander. We've had this discussion before. Plus, we have Donald Sutherland.
You were expecting Tom Holland, and it was Mr. Collins. That's a disappointment all around.
Yeah.
Well, they're not the same.
I mean,
but yeah, we've got heavy hitters. Judi Dench.
Judi Dench. Again, we talked about her recently. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this movie has a lot
Donald
of great
Sutherland.
People.
in this movie. I don't love him. Like, he's fine in a lot of stuff, but in this movie, I liked his character a lot as Mr. Bennet.
And I loved the mom. She is like
Oh my gosh.
so much all the time, but she does it in such a way that you just want to keep watching her unravel. Because I've seen like if you watch the television series, the mom on there is just annoying to me. And I'm sorry, don't hate me. I don't want to get the hate mail, but I really love this actress in the mom because she is like so much, but she is so good at it. And it just fits in her and Donald Sutherland, and how they just are these opposites, these polar opposites, to me is so fun.
I think that there is, for sure, this couple, Mr. and Mrs. Bennet, that live somewhere in Utah County and are exactly the same as they are in this movie. And they fit in fine down there.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. The whole, like, I've got 5 daughters and I need to get them married off. Tell me that isn't happening somewhere in Utah County right now.
When she's like, I'm 27. Like, yeah, that sounds about right for you. Yeah, except it'd be more.
I'm a burden to my family.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what I like about a lot of British actors, like Judi Dench, where they just kind of pop up in these movies and they're not like huge roles. She's not a starring role in this movie. But she pops up and she's still so good. Like, there are some actors when they're in a movie and it's a smaller role where they kind of just phone it in, and she does, like, they just never do that. It just seems like the Brits just like, look, if I'm going to be in this movie, I'm going to be in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael Caine in Muppets Christmas Carol. Yeah, I'm going to be acting with Muppets, but you better believe I'm going to be the best dang Ebenezer Scrooge you've ever seen.
Yeah. When Judi Dench's character shows up to the house at the end of the movie and it's the middle of the night and she just starts berating Keira Knightley, and then the family is like, and my other daughter was married, and she just, this straight face is like, you've got a small garden, like basically like, you are not important. I don't know why you're talking to me. Like, she just deadpans this. She just, like you said, she's comes in, it's this important character, but not a lot of screen time. And it's just,
the other thing I really like about these kind of period pieces that happen in England is it always leaves me wondering, what did the aristocrats do? Like, all day?
Yeah. Nothing.
Because watching this, or like Downton Abbey or things like that, like, nothing is the right answer. Like, they just are rich. And that
they were so busy,
they wake up
so
in the morning
all the time.
And their job is just being rich and doing rich people things, which it looks like nothing. And I'm always baffled by that.
So
someone, if you're a former 19th century, 18th century aristocrat from England, please send us an email. Let us know, what do you do? Just with your day.
Send us a pigeon letter.
Yeah. Send us a handwritten note.
Yeah. Send it by pigeon. Yes.
Yeah. But not in cursive, because we can't read that crap.
Yeah.
I can read it.
I can read cursive. We're all old enough that we can still read. My kids can't.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Tracy?
I was just going to say, I remember going into my senior year of high school, and I got into the AP English class, and we had to read over the summer. We had to read Pride and Prejudice and Crime and Punishment. And I thought, I'm going to start with the smaller book. And I started Pride and Prejudice, and I got like 20 pages in, and I'm like, this book sucks. And so then I went to Crime and Punishment, and I made it all the way through Crime and Punishment. I made it all the way to the end. I never went back to Pride and Prejudice. I got the Cliff Notes because I could not force my way through that book. This is, and it's a me thing. I can't watch Downton Abbey. Just this whole English period.
You would enjoy is Pride, Prejudice, and Vampires.
Yeah, that one might be up your alley.
I don't know if I could. I mean,
it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
See, now you didn't think Van Helsing was hilarious, so this worries me.
I liked Van Helsing just fine.
Not Van Helsing, Renfield. Excuse me, Renfield. Renfield was hilarious.
When have we ever had a deep conversation about Van Helsing And who didn't think that was hilarious? Because it
You
is
don't even
hilarious.
know me, Tracy. You don't even know. No, I agree with you. There are some things that I really like to watch on screen and or listen to that I can't read. And I decided a couple of years ago, because I liked this movie so much, that I would read Pride and Prejudice, because I, like you, I assumed that I probably read it or was told to read it sometime in high school, and then I probably didn't. I probably skimmed through and then wrote a book report and did whatever. I tried to read it and I couldn't really get into it. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to listen to it. So earlier this year or later last year, time, whatever, I listened to it. And I was like, there's a lot in one of my favorite movies that is not in the movie that's in this book. And I was like, I'm okay with what they cut out, because a lot of what they cut out are like just little, like what Jane Austen does well is she does put attention to detail, right? But I also think in some stories, putting too much detail in there can slow down a reader, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I really like the movie because the movie gives me everything that I need, and I don't need any of the other little bits and pieces of things.
This is going to frustrate Jake, but that's kind of how I feel about The Lord of the Rings. And it's been a long time since I've read that, but I love
not frustrate Jake.
Okay. Just because I know you're big Tolkien guy, but I remember I loved The Hobbit. Like, I found The Hobbit, read it, loved it, started reading Lord of the Rings, and I got like halfway through the Two Towers, and I was like, there were too many people with too many similar names, and I was getting confused, and there was so much detail about stuff that I didn't really care about, and so I never went back and finished those either. But I love the movies.
It's hard because I think with a lot of classic literature, the style is just so different than how we write books today and the books that we read today. And that makes me sound like I'm really just not well read, and that's fine. You can judge me however you want. I don't care. But I agree with you, Tracy. Like, I love Tolkien and I love the world that he built, but I also recognize that there are parts of the Lord of the Rings that are really hard to get through.
Okay.
And like, I'm going to say it, and there's going to be haters, and it's fine. Again, I really don't care. You guys can like me or not, but people are upset that Tom Bombadil never made it in to the Lord of the Rings movies. That was absolutely the right call by Peter Jackson to not include that character in that part of the story, because it is this whole huge like tangent that Tolkien goes on with this character that plays no real important part in the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Why are we even throwing him in there? So, like, I agree. Like, sometimes you read a book and the movie does it better for a movie.
Yes.
And so I
get
what you're saying.
Yeah, that's the difference here is, with this version of Pride and Prejudice, the writers, because there's three, and the director wanted to make this visually romantic movie. And it is that. There are so many things that visually you just fall in love with. The scene,
I agree.
There are a bunch of different scenes that I love, but one of the scenes that I love that has been like now taken by a few other movies after it is when she is on that little tire swing.
Yeah.
And she's trying to like figure out her life, and the seasons change, right? And that is one of my favorite things, because not only do the season change, but the coloring changes. So the time, you feel that over time, because there's a whole bunch of time that happens in the book between when she was asked to get married, and then when her friend comes and tells her that she is now marrying the same guy that asked her. There are these times that go by. And so you definitely have these. In movies, you have to figure out how you're going to show time when you're dealing with something that was either a musical, a play, a book, in ways. And this movie is going to be visually, I just want to eat it. It's so delicious.
Yeah.
that I think they just went with that. And so for me, it really worked. And I just loved how they changed everything about that one area. They put puddles, they put rain, they put
Yeah.
then mud, and
The
then
hay
just
in
all
there
this,
and
just hay and all of this stuff. And I just love that detail. And then you have the golden light, and then you have the white and blue light, and then you have all of these things. And then the music of this movie is so simple, because we have all heard these songs over and over and over again in other movies, but it makes you feel so comfortable, and it's so recognizable that you believe what you're seeing and hearing. Like, it's that just warmness of its comfort. But they kind of do with Jane the same thing they do in Marvel movies, is they give her a song. So anytime her life is going in the right direction, they play this similar song. Either she's playing it on the piano, or it's playing in the background, or it's doing this thing. And I really love that.
Yeah. I that scene stood out to me as well on the swing. And I thought, how else do you show the passage of time when they do the same thing every day, which is nothing except to show.
Well, and I like it too that visually she's twisted.
No, she is, and that shows that, like, there's a lot that's said about them, and there are a lot of subtleties in this movie, and the way that the actors portray the characters in this movie, the looks that go between Mr. Darcy and the Elizabeth Bennet character, and the back and forth that they do, like, it's really, really well done and really well played by the actors and done by the director, I think, because they're all very subtle, and they're saying a lot with their looks without saying anything.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why Keira Knightley didn't become a bigger name. Like, she kind of did with Pirates, but she's a very interesting actress. I like when I see her in things, I really do like what she does.
I think she was getting cast in a lot of similar things, and she wanted to go out of that. And so she made some choices. And so I just think she's very particular now about what
like, she's still
does.
working. She's in the new Hulu series where she's hunting down the mass murderer. I can't remember which one, but
but for me, she's kind of hit and miss for me. But for me, in this movie, I think she definitely, I don't see her, I see Elizabeth. You know, and in some of the movies that she's in, I see her. She's kind of like the female Gyllenhaal for me, in that I either love her in it, or I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go when I see that she's cast. But the scene at the end of the movie where she wakes up and then she goes out for a walk, and then you see Darcy coming, and you've got the fog, and you've got the sun coming in, and you've got the dew, and it goes from like this blue and gray, like sogginess, into this like light, and you're just like, they're in love, and this is the best. Like, that is one of the best shot scenes in a romantic movie that I have ever seen.
I think I needed to watch this. Like, I think you needed to see Renfield with me, and I think I needed to see this movie with you.
Let's do it. I don't think we should do it like back to back.
Because I'm having way more fun. I'm having way more fun listening to you describe this movie than I actually did watching the movie.
And I think it's because I've seen it so many times. I don't think that it's not like the best piece of art ever made. But for me, because we all have that movie that makes us feel better. And for some reason, I latched onto this movie at a time in my life where I needed everything this movie was giving me. Right? Totally get that. You have a strong female character that doesn't want to just give in to what she's supposed to be doing. And I feel like when I was going through my divorce, this was that for me. Right? It's also a big family of smart people that doesn't like to follow along what everyone else does. When she's sitting at dinner and she's like, well, do your sisters draw? No. Well, did they play music? Well, they don't do anything because it wasn't important to our parents. And she didn't see anything wrong with that because, you know, F you, basically. You know what I mean? Like, I love that scene so much because she's like, well, you speak, you know, so forward, you know, and she's like, when I tell you that I don't play very well, I'm not, this is not me
Like, I'm not being
lying.
modest.
I'm
Yeah.
not being modest. Like, I do not play. And everybody's like, you need to. She said you have to. You need to go play. And so for me, yes, it's beautiful. The story is a story that we've heard, we know about it, but I also think that these characters that are in kind of, and I'm going to throw this out there, what people think is a frivolous Jane Austen love story, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're smart. All of them are smart. They are strong. They each have individual personalities, which you don't often see in stories like this. Like the sisters, I just want to smack some of those sisters, right?
Oh
Like
my
they're
goodness.
just
Yeah.
annoying. When I first saw Rupert in the movie, it was this movie, and Rupert Friend, and he plays Wickham. It was hard for me for a long time to watch him in anything else because I'm like, you're a dick, Wickham. You are a
Yeah.
dick. I don't like you. You are
Yeah.
like, but when the whole look at like the table and how uncomfortable they are, and he's like, and I got stationed and blah, 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 wherever that is. And his dad's like, good. Like, because you need to get out of here.
Yeah.
Just like the little things, Jake, like you said, the little things
Yeah.
about every little different personality and how
Yep.
they come back to things that they say to other people and they bring them back later in the movie. That's when I know the writing is so great. Yeah, they had a great story to begin with, but when there's little things that are said over here and then they bring them back around to make them actually mean something, I love.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of that in this. And it 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 was a more interesting movie. I think the first time that I saw it, it was more interesting than I thought it would be, because like Tracy, this is not my normal
Mm-hmm.
go-to genre, but my wife loves this movie and she loves the miniseries. Um, like when she wants to just get that dose of Pride and Prejudice, and Val, you get it. You've explained that at the beginning.
Mhm.
Like when she just needs that dose, she puts this on. But
That's
sometimes,
6
like,
hours.
she needs more, then she'll put the 6-hour one on and watch it over a week or whatever. And
Mhm.
um, and I think part of the reason why I like this movie is because, and I think part of the reason she likes it is because the main character is so different from what society thinks that she should be. I mean, she's surrounded by her sisters who are all obsessed. I mean, they go down to see the militia coming in because they're guys and
They're
they're
in the
new guys
uniform.
that need to get married, and that is their whole goal and whole uh, purpose in what they're doing. And Elizabeth is different. And I think my wife felt that way growing up a lot, that she was just different.
Mhm.
And she just saw the world a little bit differently than a lot of the other girls she knew her age. She grew up with sisters. She had two sisters that are really close in age to her. And she just felt like she was different. And I think she could see a lot of that in this movie. And that's what, to me, what I really like about it too, is I feel like we've all been in that spot where we're different, but this is the good kind of different, right? Where there's a bad kind of different. That's not what I'm trying to say, but where she
No,
is,
I know what you're saying.
she's strong and independent. She speaks her mind. Um,
She's
and
not a serial killer different. That's the bad kind
right.
of
Yeah.
different.
And she's not trying. What I like is she's not trying to cause trouble, and it doesn't show her causing trouble for her family. Because a lot
Yeah.
of times you take that kind of misfit and you put them in a story, and like they cause this whole big mess for their family, but in the end everybody's like, well, but it's okay because we love you for who you are, and it works out in the end. But she
Which is
doesn't
a whole
make a
nother
mess for
Jane
her
Austen
family.
movie.
Yeah. Well, okay. They're all kind of similar. I'll be honest. This one,
No, but like there is
Persuasion.
one where you have the main character who just causes trouble the entire time. And like that
Yeah.
movie drives me crazy because I'm like, why is the woman always the troublemaker? And so that's
Right.
like why I
Mm.
like this as well. But I also love how you have Darcy, who's the main character, who's this big, rich, like worldly man who it's like the worst proposal of ever. Like if you were
Yeah.
to propose to someone and really just botch it in the worst way, he does it. Like he's so awkward.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand that he just told her like she's not worth his time, but he's going to marry her anyway because he loves her even though she's not worthy of anything.
Yeah. He is not smooth. Mr. Darcy is not
What
a
do you
smooth
mean I
operator.
insulted you?
Yeah. But
What?
but that's what I love about their relationship too, is right from the beginning, the first time that they meet, it is clear that they are equals here. Like, she is as smart and as witty as he is, and like he realizes that right off the bat. She's not the normal, like, doting over guys kind of girl that he's seen. And I'm not saying that every girl in that
No, but
society
during
was
that
like
time,
that, but during that time I think it was common. And I think he immediately recognizes she's different.
Mhm.
And you see that grow throughout, and they're good for each other because she'll call him out. She's not afraid to call him out on his crap and the stuff that he says and does, which is good because he steps in it a lot. But I will say, Val, I think the more awkward proposal was Mr. Collins to her. Like, you got to make sure you're on the same page when you're going to propose to somebody.
But
That's
that's
just
the thing is,
embarrassing
though,
for you.
that one was just she didn't want to be there. But this
Yeah.
guy, like Darcy, to come in and be like, against
Yeah.
everything in the world, I still think we should be together. Like, you know, against your better judgment, like I should be saying yes to you. Like it just, to me, it was so funny. And I'm gonna throw this out there. I've already related this movie to Creed 3 because
Yes.
there's a scene in Creed 3 where they take all of the background out and it's just them fighting. And I said, there's this scene in Pride and Prejudice that is immediately when I saw that, I thought of this because they're kind of at odds the whole time. And then she agrees to dance. Did I just agree to dance with him? You know, it's really unfortunate because, you know, I've vowed to loathe him for my entire life. But there's also this tension of love between them, right? There's this other tension. And so they're dancing together and all of a sudden everyone goes away.
Yeah.
And for me, what I liked so about it so much in both movies is that sometimes you have to deal with the person that's in front of you and not with what the world around you thinks that you need to do about what's happening in your life. And I think very often, instead of me dealing with the situation in front of me, you're like, well, but what kind of mom am I supposed to be? What kind of wife am I supposed to be? What kind of woman am I supposed to be? What kind of podcaster am I supposed to be? What kind of movie critic am I supposed to be? How about we just look at what we need to deal with right now? And I really just love that scene, not only because of what it represents, but I also love the camera work in when anytime they're in a ball, they do almost like a lot of one shots.
Yeah.
Where they're moving simultaneous. Just the flow of the camera work just calms me down.
Yeah. Well, and I love when I see, because pulling off one shots is so difficult. And especially when you have, and we talked about this with like Creed and some of these other movies where they have these action scenes, the tendency is to just get a lot of shots and just edit them together and just splice them together. But the fact that you have this camera moving while you have all the choreograph, you got to choreograph the camera as well as the actors.
And there's so many people packed in this small area, and it's just this fluid motion. It just gets me so excited.
And now the cameras are a lot smaller and the stabilizers are a lot smaller. This being back in what, 2006? I mean, you still had big cameras that you've got to have set focal lengths. Like you
2005,
you can't have somebody get too close to the camera or too far away because they're going to be out of focus or out of frame. And especially when you're broadcasting up on a giant screen, it's going to show. So you've got to have everybody hitting their mark perfectly to get that kind of shot down. It's so much fun.
I love that scene with the two of them dancing, Val, and I liked how it compared to the scene right before that where she's dancing with Mr. Collins, because then you can see the difference there where you talk about in the one, she is focusing on Mr. Darcy, the person in front of her, and everything kind of goes away. But with Mr. Collins, it is the opposite. She is desperately trying to get and talk to anyone, and he keeps trying to bring stuff up and talk to her, and every time he's getting close to like giving her a compliment or whatever, she moves on to the next person. I know that's the dance that they were doing, but she's clearly like not making eye contact with him and I love that they put those two kind of back to back because that really emphasizes then the second one how much she's focused on him.
Well, and I think it shows how their lives are chaotic without each other as well. Like they just fit well. And the other movie that I'm going to relate this to, which I know is not going to be a good one for a lot of people, and I might get some mail about this, but so Twilight.
Wow.
I'm just gonna put this out there because I have read Jane Austen. I have read Pride and Prejudice. I have listened to the story. I have watched the movie. I have read every Twilight book. You may not have known this about me. And I have seen every Twilight movie. And if you watch the first 2 Twilight movies and you read those 2 books and you read this book and or listen to it and then watch this movie, you will see how unoriginal Twilight is, because a lot of the things she was trying to create her own Pride and Prejudice, which she's inspired by a lot of things. But if you're a fan of it, I think you'll actually like watching this movie and then Twilight like back to back, because there's a lot of things that she takes from the story that are in both movies. And I'm talking about Meyer. Susan,
a woman who went to BYU who loved Pride and Prejudice. I'm shocked.
But I'm just saying, like, so one of the biggest things that's in both movies, but she makes it very, in Twilight, she makes it very specific, is when Edward touches Bella and he does this thing with his hand that makes it like, oh my God, like grossness, right? In this movie and in the book, it's in both of Pride and Prejudice. Darcy, when he helps Elizabeth into the carriage and she's like, why is he helping me? When he walks away, he does that with his hand. It's also described in the book. So there's these little things back and forth, and there's a couple more I won't get into that we could actually do a whole episode on Pride and Prejudice and Twilight. I'm not saying us, but you could do a whole episode.
We're going to do that episode followed by M. Night Shyamalan.
Seen this movie, but you're listening to it and you're a fan of the Twilight stories and or movies, you actually might like this movie a little bit, because there are some things that mirror each other. Also, in the second movie, when Bella is going through the seasons of her mourning of Edward, they do almost the same thing in that movie that they do in this, but Bella is sitting in a chair and looking out the window at the seasons changing, and the camera is going around Bella instead of her going around in a swing. So there's a lot of things that are similar, that are inspired by, and I know you thought Creed and Pride and Prejudice, and then I just blew your mind with Pride and Prejudice and Twilight. I'm full of all these surprises.
The way you weaved it, you made it work, which is astounding. I only made it through the first Twilight movie. I only made it through the first Twilight movie with the help of the MST3K guys doing a riff tracks. They record now in order to get the licensing for some of the newer movies. They just record their commentary and their jokes, and then you download it and sync it up to the movie. That's the only way I made it through that movie.
I mean, it's not meant for you, so
yeah. Years and years ago, when the Twilight books were in their prime of popularity, we were at a dinner with some people in our neighborhood, and we had just started hearing about the Twilight books, and one of the ladies was big into them. She's like, I just love the Twilight books. And her husband was like, I don't get it. I don't get why she's always reading it. And he's like, and the other day she asked me a question and I gave her my honest answer, and she just looked at me. That's not what Edward would have said. And then turned around and went back to her book. And I thought to myself, I hope that Erica never reads those books, because I don't think I can match up with a vampire. But
yeah, that's when it's been healthy, is that these are just books.
Yeah. That's not what Edward would have said.
Yeah, it took me until book 3. I held off, but my sister and all of her girlfriends were reading them, and they were all going to the book release of the third book, the third or fourth, I don't remember. And I was like, fine. So in one weekend, because that's how quick they are, I read to catch up, and then I went with them to the book release and got the new book, and then read that in another weekend. It's just brain candy, but I kind of wanted to be like, I wanted to feel like a part of the group, of the ladies. And like, I didn't hate them, but again, I think it's young teen writing. This isn't like this isn't like Pulitzer Prize winning writing, right? And then because I'm a completionist and I read all the books, I wanted to see all the movies, and there was a whole bunch of like stuff behind it. But a lot of times we went to the movies with our husbands, like as a big group, and we're just laughing like the whole time because they're also just funny, but not in a way that most people thought they were funny, but we would laugh. But
Yeah.
I don't see any issue why people shouldn't like them, because it's just like when Jane Austen's books came when Jane Austen's books came out, they said she's a frivolous, female writer who's writing about romantic things that don't matter. They do matter. They do matter. And, I think that there's obviously definitely people that need and want to read. And that's why there are different books and movies for everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I used to be, Val, we talked before, we both went to film school. We became film snobs for a while.
Yeah.
And so I used to be very judgy about stuff like, how could you like that? Or that's so dumb. And now I'm just like, it's like, okay, this isn't for me, but if you like it, I'm totally cool with it. Like, I'm not going to crap on the stuff that you enjoy. And if you don't like it, I might be like, oh, that's a bummer, but I'm not going to be like, I can't talk to you anymore, but I will tell you, this was kind of fun. We were interviewing a guy for a graphic design position at my work, and he doesn't know anything about me, doesn't know that I'm a movie guy and that I used to teach film. And we just asked him, like, what kind of movies do you like? Because we'll talk about movies at work and stuff. And he's like, I'm really, I really like old stuff. Like, I'm into like Singing in the Rain and Citizen Kane. And I'm like, okay. And then he's like, but then I like modern stuff. Like, what's the movie where the basement, the horror movie? Trying to think of it. We both saw it, Val. I think you saw it, where there's like the monster in the basement of the house. It's got the guy anyway.
I probably blocked it out so I wouldn't be freaking scared. I'm in a basement right now. I live in a basement.
But anyway, so then he like mentions that, and then he goes, but then I also like Swedish films from like Ingmar Bergman, and I'm like, wow.
Did you meet your new best friend, Tracy?
Like, you're going from Ingmar Bergman to like modern horror. I'm like, all right, this is kind of cool. I'm
something like, out there for everybody.
There's more of me out there. This is great. So I'm not alone.
That is good news. But to listen to our show.
But I will check out Beau is Afraid and get back to you.
Please do.
Yeah. Should we grade?
Yeah.
We should grade.
Right. I'm going to go first just because I'm going to give it the lowest grade I can tell. I didn't hate the movie. This just isn't my genre. It's not my cup of tea, if you will. The cinematography is beautiful. The music is great, but just people, I don't know because I know they took a lot of the dialogue like straight from the book, and I just have a hard time with it. And I'm just going to go C because this is just on a pure entertainment level. It just isn't my thing. But that's one of my lower grades that I've ever given. But I don't want to poop on what stuff that other people like. But it's just not for me. But the cinematography and the music was great.
Yeah, I think this is a B for me. It's probably not one that I would seek out and watch by myself. But my wife likes these movies, and so this is one that I'm like, yeah, if you want to put it on, let's sit and watch it together. Like. I wouldn't have a problem sitting and watching it. I think it is well done. I think similar to you, Tracy, this isn't necessarily the genre that I would look for to watch something in, but I think out of that genre, this is one of the better done films that I enjoyed more than some of the others. I do think it is beautifully shot. I think the music is really well done, and I do think that the performances are strong. And I love Donald Sutherland in this one. I think his dad, Mr. Bennett character is great. And having daughters of my own, like I want to be that kind of dad that's like, look, I get that the marriage looks good on paper, but you kind of don't like this guy at all, is the impression I got. Are you sure that you want to marry him? And I think he was just a really good dad. So anyway, a B for me.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when they're out kind of by the lake, and he's like, from this day forward, one of your parents, isn't going to talk to you. And like, and I love it because she thinks, that she's going to be on their mom's side, but you know.
So if you marry
Mom
him,
won't talk to you if you don't marry him, and if you do,
one-
I'm going to
one-
stop talking to you.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie for a couple different reasons, but I think it was very well cast. This movie is an A for me because I think it's an easily consumed movie that doesn't skimp on anything. Is it the best movie ever made? No, but you can put it on the background of something and you can get right back to it. It doesn't need to be explained to you. It's a universal story. And sometimes when you have easy to consume movies that are universal stories, they don't give it everything they could. And I think that they didn't skimp on the acting, the script, the cinematography, anything. And I just love how easy it is to consume. And sometimes you just need a movie that you watch that doesn't need to be explained to you.
Yeah.
And that's why I like this movie so much.
Maybe that's my problem, because I watched it and then I had to have my wife explain it to me so I could be ready to talk about it today. So that might be my issue, Val. So I'm just not there on this movie yet. But
I think you have to see it 1 million times like me, and then
yes,
you truly, yes. I did find a movie that I'm excited to check out, you guys. I found an old Tom Hardy movie called Minotaur that I need to check out, and I'll get back to you on. And because it looks like the Minotaur creature looks like stop motion Rancor from Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
And I'm like, and Tom Hardy looks like he's about 15 years old. So I will get back to you on that one. But I discovered that one last night.
All right. Well, that could be a crapshoot or something like an amazing gem of a find.
I'm sure it's going to be awful, but that's okay.
Sounds good.
I can't wait to hear about it. Hey, if nothing else, you can talk to your new friend at work about it. If you got the job. I don't know if you hired him or not, but
should we watch Prometheus next week just to stay with the P's?
I like Prometheus.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. We're looking for another P movie.
That's one that a lot of people don't like, but I like that one.
I mean, then we hit all the genres.
Poseidon Adventure.
Poseidon Adventure. I don't know Prometheus at all. Is that the alien
so
one?
It's a sci-fi movie, and it has Michael Fassbender, Charlize Theron, Idris Elba, Kai Pierce.
Okay.
It came out in 2012. It's the prequel to Alien.
Yeah.
So if I haven't seen all the Alien movies, am I going to get this one?
You'll be fine. I'm so bummed because he does such interesting things in Prometheus and Alien Covenant, and they have a major cliffhanger in Covenant, and we're never going to get the third Alien film, and I'm so bummed.
Never say never.
No, they're not. He's doing other things, and the studio's rebooting it with a new movie and a new TV series. They're never going to go back and finish that up. But Michael Fassbender in those movies are outstanding.
He's outstanding human.
It's true.
I guess we're doing Prometheus next week, so be here for it, guys.
There's a scene in there that I'm curious. I don't know if that's going to be Jake appropriate. So.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we might need to talk off air.
Okay, we'll talk about it. We may be doing Prometheus. We'll see after Tracy explains what's going on here. So,
yeah.
All right.
It's
well, there
Ridley
you go.
Scott too.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching, listening. We appreciate it. We appreciate your support. Please consider joining our Patreon and becoming a patron. $3 a month gets you exclusive access, like episodes that you can't get anywhere else. And keep an eye out for some of that fundraising. We'll start posting some links so you guys can start donating, and we would really appreciate your support there as well. And until next time, we won't see you at the movies. Insert generic Tracy tagline here.
This has been an Age of Geek media production.